Today's show is brought to you by homebrewsupply.com. Homebrew Supply is your one-stop shop for brew day ingredients, recipes, equipment, and more. Take advantage of everyday low pricing and everyday flat rate shipping only at homebrewsupply.com. Go to homebrewsupply.com right now and use our promo code HHH to get 5% off your order. homebrewsupply.com. Let us help make your brew day better.
Entertaining shows with content that spreads information and sparks discourse throughout the community. This is the Pearl Media Network.
Hello and welcome to the Homebrew Happy Hour. This is the show where we supply the answers to your homebrewing questions and discuss all things related to craft beer. If you have a question you would like us to discuss on a future episode, you can go to homebrewhappyhour.com and click on the submit a question link at the top of the page, or now you can call or text them in by using 325-305-6107. I am your host, Joshua Stubing. Today I'm joined by the Director of Operations at cmbecker.com. Right over that way, Mr. James Carlson, as well as beneath me, he is the President and Chief Keg Washer of kegconnection.com. The burly needs to get a shave and a haircut. Goodness. Mr. Todd Burns, gentlemen, how are y'all doing today?
Good. I think I need a shave. Look, you guys have longer beards than I do. Why are you saying that?
Well, because it looks like it's on purpose on us. Now, look, about your hair, I'm just jealous because I'm balding. Look, like I don't want to talk
Aren't we
about
all,
it.
you know?
Oh, shut up. You tried, no. You tried that crap during the live brew day. I was complaining to Joe or somebody about my hairline, and Joe's going bald, and he was like, yeah, my hairline. And then you're like, yeah, me too. And we both gave you the finger. Like, that is ridiculous. How dare you?
No, you should see my twin brother. I mean, he's like a hair helmet.
Is he really?
I can't believe how mine's receding here at only 53.
Oh, shut
Todd's
up.
got the same problem.
You know what, too? Your pop and your uncle, they have great heads of hair in their 80s. I mean, it looks like appropriate for an 80. It's not like shaggy, hippie down on 6th Street kind of hair, but it's like enviable for a man who's about to be 35 looking at your pop's head of hair like, I could really go for that. That would be nice to have on my head. Which, by the way, Todd, I won't talk about it a whole lot, but we do keep your father in our thoughts right now. Your week was busy with stuff with your pop. And
yeah, he's not feeling very good right now, so we're trying to get through that. So
absolutely, and he's one of my favorite people in the world. Him and your mother-in-law are the only reasons I took COVID serious at the beginning. I've been taking it serious now before y'all leave the bad reviews or whatever. I take it very serious. But I mean, just when it was for sure affecting the elderly, I was like, oh, well, two of my favorite people in the world are elderly. So I got to do this. Got to adhere to it for them, for their sake. But anyway, we are definitely thinking about Mr. Burns. Let me mute my whole office phone wasn't muted. I don't know if y'all heard that.
So I have to. Can I say something before we get started?
Yeah, I would love that.
I'm actually working on brewing back here. I've got my system going, and I'm bringing it up to temperature so I can pour the grain in. And I keep looking back because I saw some water a minute ago. I'm a little bit nervous that it's got a little leak somewhere, but I may have just splashed. I may have just splashed some water. I may run over there at some point, look real quick. Just if you see me run off real quick while James is. Or Josh is blabbing on about something.
Yeah. I was gonna say James doesn't blab. James doesn't blab. Wait.
No, yeah, dude.
Anyway,
I didn't know you were brewing. What are you're brewing? Is that the Kolsch that you were telling me?
Yeah. So we brewed an alt last week, and I said, you know what? You're always going on about alt and Kolsch, particularly Kolsch. So I should brew a Kolsch since we brewed an alt last week. And we're going to have a Kolsch and an alt on tap at my place. That'll be fun. We haven't had, I bet that hadn't happened in like 2 years.
It's been a while.
Where we had both of them at the same time, right?
Very cool.
I think it's been a while for sure since we've had both on tap. I was trying to think. I think at the Christmas party, James, is that when you had the blonde alt?
Yep.
Okay, so
wait, no, it ain't.
No, that was before. You're right. No, you're right. What?
Yep.
We had a Kolsch on tap at the Christmas party. We did not have an alt.
So it'll be cool to have both, and I want y'all to appreciate me when I'm cleaning up at 10 p.m. tonight.
I was going to say it's
I'm
late.
getting started really late.
It's late. And by the way, we are recording this on a Friday. You would not believe how many people wrote to me yesterday evening, like, no new episode this week. What happened? Y'all still recovering from last week? And a couple of things, like I said, it's been a crazy week, man. It's been a crazy week. But I also forgot what day it was yesterday. It was about 11 in the morning, and I had to go see my doctor for stuff. And then I was like, holy crap, wait, can we do the podcast tomorrow? Because I can't do it today.
You were at the doctor, and then my dad's situation. I mean, really, it's your fault and my dad's fault. We'll drop both of you under the
I am not blaming Mr. Burns. It is my fault, Pierce. If you listen to this, I take full blame. Yeah, my problems seem insignificant. I went to the doctor for neck pain, and then all of a sudden they're running an EKG on me because my blood pressure was through the roof, and I was like, but I'm doing sober October. It's gonna be okay. So,
are you really?
I am now. After our 200th, I was not gonna.
I was gonna say I do not remember you being sober.
I'm really bad at math.
The 3rd of what was it? The 3rd?
It was, or the 2nd.
Yeah, on the 3rd of October, I could personally vouch for the fact that you were not sober.
It was the 2nd of October, because someone, when I mentioned that when I got home Saturday, I'm sitting on my porch, and I wasn't sober that weekend because I drink with my wife at the end of the week, usually on the porch, which she told me she's not participating in Sober October, so whatever. And then we hosted my cousins at my dad's place on Sunday, so I drank with them. So I posted about, I'm going to do Sober October, and someone goes, it's October 5th. Like, that's already 5 days done. I was like, well, I'm just bad at math.
He's doing sober part of October.
I called it sober rest of October. Yeah.
Okay, there you go. Yeah.
But my plan is to be to sober and especially now with my blood pressure stuff, because they put me on amlodipine and a diuretic, so I'm gonna get ripped. I think that's what fighters take when they're cutting weight. But Todd, you want to do a weight loss contest now? I have drugs. I can win.
All right, so we have questions, right?
Yeah, I'll get there. So we on election night, I'm going to do a live stream of Drunkcast for people to make up for we had too much fun that night where we didn't do a live stream for our Patreon members. So I'm going to make it up to y'all by doing it on election night. And nothing could go wrong
with.
Wait
a minute. When is that?
Tuesday, November the 3rd. That's the day after my 35th birthday. I'll be 35 on the 2nd.
God, is there any way we could schedule that where you're here? That'd be fun to do.
Okay, I would love to come up there. Yeah, how about I come up on election day? Because my birthday, actually, I mean, I could come up on that Monday. I don't care.
No. Do your birthday with your family. I don't want to have to spend any money on it, and then we'll have. Yeah, I'm kidding.
Well, Christy, my wife's is the 1st. Hers will be on Sunday, so I'm definitely not coming up then. But we'll figure it out.
What's a birthday?
I know. Oh yeah, right. I know you're an adult. I'm a millennial, man. It's a day about me. So
I still like.
My daughter, you celebrate it for 2 weeks when it's her birthday.
Oh, I think that's women, my friend. My wife.
Yeah. I'm guilty of that. I always tell my wife and kids, because always like they're asking me to do something, and I'll go, it's my birth week. I shouldn't have to birth month.
That's what Christy does. And her birthday's on the 1st of November. She wants all of November. I'm like, no, you did a little bit of October and some of November. But so segueing us into content. First, small talk stuff. The October recipe kit is the new revised Dusseldorf alt beer that Horst gave us the update on. It's on episode 199. It's not a secret if you want to brew it yourself, or we are now shipping that recipe kit with the updated stuff. I do believe that's what I was told from people in warehouse. So
it's got updated malt too.
Yeah, tell them about the malt.
James, please do.
Well, it has that bar. You remember Horst was talking about the, I don't want to get the name wrong. The base malt is going to be the Bark Pilsen, Barke. Now, if y'all remember in the episode, Horst said the efficiency is down a little bit, but it gives it more authentic Dusseldorf alt beer taste. So it's excited. We didn't have that when we brewed the kit last week, but I'd like to do another one here and see.
Well, I mean, we have to officially test it with the new malt.
Sure.
Yeah, absolutely.
I was going to say, it's just a great excuse to keep brewing alt. and just keep brewing it
Yeah.
and just keep brewing it.
No,
Great
it's a
beer.
new recipe.
Oh, you're right. You're right. You're right.
Recipe.
But I'm excited. Todd, you have it fermenting away there. Have you done an update on numbers? Like, or how's it
So
looking?
it's already at 110. I'm already cold crashing. I pulled the yeast out of the bottom of the fermenter and cold crashed it last night.
That's fantastic. I
it's
cannot
at
wait.
110.
Are you going to
Did
lager
you
it?
save the yeast?
No.
You should have. You're right. Because you could have pitched it there at the office.
Yeah, it was fresh and healthy.
But Gen 2. Yeah. Could have had a whole generation. I then could have taken it and brewed a batch at my pop's house, and it would have been Gen 3.
We
Todd,
could have had a yeast giving.
Imperial is very good about supplying us with yeast for those things.
They're very good. And the bigger news on this recipe kit, not only is that we normally give options. The reason we're not in October is because we're very excited about it. If you can't tell, we love this recipe kit. We love the style, and we want everyone to experience it. It's one that I think we've all said that you need to try and brew at least once in your brewing career if you can't get it commercially, which for 95% of us in the United States, we can't get a decent alt beer commercially. So you got to brew it yourself. It's obviously for every $50 member, and usually in our $35 Patreon tier, you have every other month. But we are offering it to every single $35 member if you want it this month, and then you'll start every other month again, if that makes sense. So if you got a recipe,
that's a great deal.
I agree. If you got a recipe in September, or even if you sign up in October, I'll even give that offer, because we had a bunch of people. Did I show you all the email? We had a bunch of people sign up for the Patreon after the episode with Horse, and then after our 200th episode. And I know it's not our Pretty Muds. It's because of the alt beer recipe, or it's because of the recipe tiers, because that's the ones that they join. So if you want it this month in your $35 tier, just let me know, and I'll let you get it then, and then we'll get you on every other month. And for the people who did already qualify, we're going to let them do the same kind of thing with any extra month at the end of this year, just to try to, we try to take care of all of our patron members. We appreciate everything y'all do for us and for supporting us and whatnot.
Yeah, and we're working on another little gift for all those tier members, and we'll talk about that in an upcoming episode.
I am very excited about that. That's going to be like.
I have no idea what y'all are talking
I know.
about.
I'll show you the emails, but
It's super secret, James. Sorry.
Obviously.
we talk about it in the Super Duper Secret Club Facebook group, James. You just have to rejoin Facebook.
Yeah.
9. And then real quick, let's see. People are asking about the 200th episode that didn't make it live, like for a recap. I would say just short and sweet. I had a blast. We had a great time doing the live brew day. Was probably my favorite part of the day. We had good beer, good food. Liz made great tacos, and it was just a ton of fun. And then coming up,
yeah, we didn't have any issue other than the boil over. Todd's system's crazy efficient. We actually hit above our numbers, so
it was crazy efficient. And the whole every time we brew at your place, Todd, it makes me want a 3-tier system even more.
Well, I like the way I think I basically said, hey, I've got to go do whatever. I was cleaning something or getting the coils ready to cool it down or something. And I was like, y'all watch the beer. I'm leaving. And then it boils over. I was like, I get to claim no culpability for that, right?
And it had to happen while we were doing a live stream of our 200th
that
episode.
That was hilarious.
Like that,
no, it wasn't a bad one at all. Y'all
No.
said that, right?
No, it wasn't too bad.
It wasn't bad at all. It was just funny that it happened. And then me and my pop, we have a brew day this Sunday. We're brewing the breakfast stout, 10 gallons of it, because my plan is to trade you, Todd, 5 gallons of breakfast stout for your melt stout. Because we're going to have like 3 stouts on tap at Thanksgiving, and I couldn't be happier. It's going to be a fantastic holiday season. We're going to have the Guinness clone, which is still just tastes so good. Very dry. Todd's Melt Stout, which is the sweet melt stout recipe kit on homebrewsupply.com. It came out phenomenal. And then the breakfast stout, we did it good last year. Fingers crossed, we're going to do it good this year. And we're using Folgers, Todd. Can you believe it? Folgers is sponsoring our brew day.
I'm not. Yeah.
You don't want.
I don't want to trade.
No comment. Okay, what? You tell me what coffee you want in it, and we'll use that.
How much coffee do you need?
Not a lot. We cold brew. We have to cold brew a cup of it. Yeah.
Yeah. I'll supply the coffee. How about that?
Deal. We'll do that. And
Okay.
my pop will probably still use Folgers for his keg. So we'll do a taste comparison to see how big a difference the choice of coffee makes. But
I think the founders, it uses Kona and Sumatra, right?
it does.
Blend of both.
And I don't know if you remember, I think we've covered it on the show. We did the brew day like weeks later or whatever. We're drinking it. And my dad, I open up his pantry and he has a bag of Kona in there. My brother went to Hawaii for his honeymoon and brought it back for them. And
Oh, wow.
I was like, Dad, we could have used the Kona. He's like, I like Folgers. I don't remember.
Does your dad, is he kind of cheap?
My pop, no, he listens to the show. He's a good guy.
No, I know he
Great
listens.
answer.
I absolutely know he listens to the show. He's a little cheap, isn't he?
Right.
That's the reason he drinks Folgers.
Look,
right?
he's no Mr. Pierce Burns cheap, but
My dad drinks good coffee.
Your dad-
only the best.
oh, that's funny. Just because you've told me the stories of frugality from your dad. So
Oh yeah, he was very frugal when I was young. Yes.
anyway, so yes, we do have all that stuff. You can go to patreon.com/homebrew happy hour for all the info and join any of the tiers and look at all the different perks that you get, discounts on our retail stores and partners, and the swag bag that you get sent to you with the new shirts and the hats. And there's a lot of stuff. So go to patreon.com/homebrew happy hour. Getting on with the show. We have 4 questions for y'all today, starting with our friend Leon, who wrote in using the submission form at homebrewhappyhour.com. Leon wrote, what is the most effective way to cool down my wort if I live in a very warm climate location? I currently have an immersion chiller that came with my system, but it isn't working as well as it should. I've read that plate chillers are supposed to work well, but like I've said, I've only used immersion and I don't want to spend the money if it isn't going to be any better. Thanks. Speaking of cheap, Leon sounds like he's right up our alley. I don't want to spend.
This is a really easy question. James, you want to take this one?
Yeah, it all depends on the water you're using to cool it. So if you've got 90-degree tap water, there's no way any kind of chiller is going to be efficient enough to get it down to pitch temp. It's just not going to happen.
Yeah,
you're going to have to pre-chill the water.
Yeah, and that's so easy. I mean, you just buy another chiller. Even a 25-foot will work, but we use 250s. We use a 50 immersion, and then the exact same type of chiller in a bucket full of ice for the pre-chiller. And like I said, a 25 or a 50 will work, and it's a game changer, right, James?
Oh, absolutely. And yeah, if you've got cold enough tap water, I used to use a therminator with the big system when we would do 40-gallon batches, but we had cold well water. So we could literally run it full blast. It would come out 70 degrees. But like I said, it all starts with the tap water temperature. If you don't have the right temperature, if it's too warm, you're going to have to chill it down. And that's what, like Todd said, we use a chiller with ice that we run the tap water through before it hits the chiller in the wort. And it works great.
One other thing, if you're doing that, just a hint, you don't ever want to put the ice in the beginning because you're just going to melt all your ice. It's going to be 70 degrees. Well, no, you're boiling. I'm sorry. That's much higher than 170 degrees. Yeah. But it's going to be super hot. It's going to melt your ice. So you want to try to run it for a while with the tap water and then throw the ice in the bucket when you get to about a little under 100, right, James?
Yeah, or whenever it stalls out, because you can see when it's working, the temperatures are going to be dropping fairly quickly. But when it gets to the point where it stalls out, that's when we would add the ice. And Todd had something that worked fantastic. He had a little smaller tote, like you would put a storage tote, filled it up. It was big enough to put in a freezer, and he filled it up with water the day before. And then he just used an ice pick, and we had big chunks of ice, and it worked all the way down to pitch temp.
That did work. That did work good, Todd. I will say, of all the terrible ideas you've ever had, that wasn't one of them. That worked out.
Just remembered I don't have any ice, and I have to chill my wort later tonight.
That's awesome. Yeah, sure. Yeah, man. Oh, that system is so effective that you convinced me. That's what me and my dad do now. But I will say, we've been dummies because we've been adding ice at the beginning. I could have saved us a bag of ice probably if I had waited to add it, like you said, till it already gets down. Because you're right, the water that we're using going through, at highest is like 80 something. And so it's going to get it down to, like you said, at least 100 for when we will put the ice and make the most use out of that ice. That makes total sense. Did you cover that? You did a video on the actual, because Kakanechin sells a combo pack of exactly what you use, like literally the wort chiller system that you use.
Yeah.
You made a video of it. I actually wasn't the one who edited it. Remember, Brandon was the guy who had edited it, and I just published it for us. I don't know how that worked out. We need to do that more often where other people do the work. But did you go over it extensively, like how you use it and the ice part of that? Because I don't remember you ever telling me about the ice.
I don't remember. I remember doing the video and Brandon editing it, but it was like 3 years ago, wasn't it? I don't have any idea.
Maybe a year. You think it was over
Really?
a year?
How long ago did he leave?
Maybe a year. Maybe. I don't know.
I think it was at least 2 years. It was at least 2 years
Homebrew
ago.
Supply Brandon. You see, it was so long ago, you don't even. I love it. Oh, Brandon, oh gosh, forget the last name.
But anyway,
that's so funny.
The key is I have well water, but my well water is not cold enough to get it all the way down. Especially if I'm doing a lager. So what's really funny about well water is it's great in the summer, because once you get to the point where you're actually pulling from your well and not your pressure tank that has 100-degree water in it, then you've got that cool water. But the flip side to that is it actually gets warmer towards the end when you're doing it in the winter.
Oh, right.
Because your pressure tank's super cold, got super cold water in it, and then you start getting the water from down below, and it's actually warmer. So, yeah.
And I had on my well water, I couldn't use it very good because I had a pump that would actually heat the water up as it pushed it through the pump.
Oh, wow.
And so it didn't work very good at all. But the one that we used when we were doing the 40-gallon batches, his well was deep, and it was cool. I want to say it was like 58 degrees coming out.
Damn,
and
that's nice.
It worked good with that compact plate chiller. You could run it full blast and it would come out 68 degrees, 70 degrees.
That's
amazing.
Nice. That'd be nice.
Yeah.
So to wrap up his question, then it doesn't matter if he can make his current immersion work by adding another immersion. And like you said, James, it all starts with water temp. The plate chiller is not going to be any more effective at using his existing water setup to cool it anymore, because it can't get lower.
It's a heat exchange.
Right. Yeah. So it can't get lower.
If you don't have the difference, they won't have the heat exchange.
Right.
And we have right now our normal price on a wort chiller is $59.95. So, and that's for the 25 foot, and then $99.95. So for anywhere from $60 to $100, you could actually get set up he could get set up to do whatever he needs. That's not near as much money. So
yeah, that's not bad at all. And like I said, there is on that listing for Keg Connection and Homebrew Supply, there is a video you can watch with Todd over there showing you how to use it and how he uses it. And you can use our promo code HHH on either website and get 5% off your order. So there you go, Leon. I'm just upselling you right now. Boom, boom, boom. Look, Todd, you said I'm suck at sales. I'm making sales. Thank you for submitting your question, Leon. This is a great time to remind you that if you submit your question and we take it on a future episode, we give you a $25 gift certificate to kegconnection.com. So that makes it even cheaper for Leon if you're going to use it on an extra 50-foot coil wort chiller. So anyways, moving on. Question number 2 came from our friend Oscar, who also used the submission form at homebrewhappyhour.com. Oscar wrote, "Congrats on 200 episodes. I'm a longtime listener and have thoroughly enjoyed the podcast over the years. Good stuff. My question is about foaming lines. To be more specific, my lines foam a lot when I switch between corny kegs and my favorite keg of microbrew. Am I doing something wrong? I dispense my own beer at 10 psi and I don't change it for the pony kegs I tap. CM Becker flow control faucets aren't in my budget, but I am still hoping you can help. Cheers from Maryland, Oscar." I'm glad that he got that out of the way. Like, don't try to sell me on V10 faucets, man. But Todd, you're the only one I know who, I say that. It's been a while since any of us have had commercial beer on tap. But of any of us to do it, Todd, you've switched back and forth before. So
sure.
Have you experienced what he's talking about?
I mean, just this is off the top of my head. We have a whole video on foam, and I would definitely look at that. But there's 2 things that I would check in that particular situation. One, is it foaming for the whole keg? Because a lot of times when you first tap a commercial keg is when you tend to get a lot of foam. They're just maybe a little higher carbonated. For some reason, when you tap a fresh commercial keg, it tends to foam in the beginning and then kind of calm down a little bit. So that may be the case, but we didn't get into, that wasn't in the statement that he made. So I'm not absolutely positive if he's talking about it, doing that all the way through. The other thing is, sometimes you can have an issue like with a coupler. Maybe something's in there that's agitating the beer. Just take your coupler apart, look on the liquid side and make sure there's nothing there. The other thing is just make sure that it's really tapped well and that it's opening well. He mentioned commercial beer like it's happened multiple times. If it's only happened one time, one thing we've run into over and over again is there's a lot of old Sankey taps out there. And sometimes people will call us up and they're like, there's coupler you sold me is bad. It's not working. And a lot of times it's actually the keg itself, and it's not called a probe. What's it called? It has
spear.
The spear is bad, or the top of the spear is bad. And we've had people that had to actually take a keg back because they couldn't get the beer out of it. I guess in the end, what I would say is it's not an easy thing to answer because there's so many variables. But that foaming video that we have, even though it doesn't foam with your homebrew, you might want to watch that. Also, the temperature. Make sure that the temperature of that Sankey keg, that you've let it drop down to 38 or below before you tap it, or you're definitely going to get foam from that. So
that was the only thing I was going to have to offer was temperature. Because watch it, like you said, the video you did, which by the way is over 20,000 views now. And that reminded me that James's video, which we have to do an update on because it's been almost 2 years, is hitting the 100,000 mark. I guarantee you this weekend, we're right there on these views.
That's amazing.
Isn't it crazy that people consume our content? I don't get it. Well, no, now I sound like Todd. Todd says I don't get it. And then he tells people to go watch my video. I have a video on foam. And it's just him hitting a foamy beer glass and like a Neanderthal. It is actually good content. I know like certain commercial kegs of beer that you might not find in our kegerator are inherently overcarbonated, or air quote overcarbonated, right? Like Coors historically.
Well, I don't even mention that because I'm just assuming that one of our listeners isn't drinking Coors Light. But I could be wrong. Maybe he has a bunch of buddies over and he's drinking Coors Light. Coors Light is like it's carbonated to the equivalent of serving at 16 psi. If I remember that.
So you think it's closer to 3 volumes on the Coors?
Yeah. You would serve it at 16 psi in order to keep it at the same carbonation throughout the keg.
I know when I was doing commercial kegs, I would get Shinerbach, and I noticed considerable foaming the first day, the first 24 hours.
Yeah.
And then after it settled in one spot for a while, it wouldn't do it near as bad.
Yeah. And the temperature for me in foaming tends to be the biggest culprit. The fridge isn't cooling it down to where it needs to be. And that's why we're getting a lot of foam. We can lower the PSI to a trickle to try to accommodate for it. I know Oster said, don't recommend this, but flow control faucets can also help you out a little.
Or even inline flow control.
Yeah, inline flow control, or just put, if you're having the problem consistently, put longer lines on your kegerator and deal with the fact that it's going to pour slower on your other beer. So.
Yeah, exactly. Which is a great segue to our next question. So we don't have anything more for Oster, right? Nope. I think we solved it. I know that was like one of the quicker questions, but
or didn't solve it.
You're right. Yeah. Didn't solve it. When Oster gives me all the details, we'll come back and we'll say, "Oh, he's drinking only Coors. That's the problem," and then we'll go from there. But Oster, thank you so much for writing in. I'm only segueing because I want to catch our thoughts where Todd's talking about longer lines for this next question. Came from our friend Frank, who also used the submission form at homebrewhappyhour.com. Frank wrote, "Happy brewing, fellas. I found a question on Reddit. I know how much you love Reddit, Josh, and I wanted your opinions on it. It's basically asking that if a person uses a ton of liquid line to compensate for the necessary restriction needed to pour correctly, then what happens to that beer just sitting in the lines when the tap isn't being used? If I go a few days between pouring a beer from the tap, is the beer that was in the long lines going to taste funky and affect the batch? Or if it does taste funky, would it only be the first few pours that get messed up? I see people online always say add more liquid line when addressing issues, but I've never thought about what could happen to the stagnant beer in the lines. Thanks for your insight, Frank. Now, we took his question. I'm wondering, do I need to go find this on Reddit and give that person the gift card? Is that who earns the gift card? Or can
No.
Okay.
If you've read the question, he gets it.
Okay.
Yeah. So
He took the time to submit.
He did. You're right. He listens to the show.
I love this question because we get the same kind of draft beer questions over and over. This is a great question because it's actually a little bit different. And so a couple of things can happen with that much longer line. One, your longer line in the vast majority of cases are in a like in a keezer or in your fridge. So they're cool. They're not. It's not like you may have some situations where people are going from one place to another and going outside. If that happens and the beer gets warm, then yeah, it's going to get yucky. But if it's in there, it should be fine. But interestingly enough, a lot of times what happens is you get CO2 actually kind of backs up in there because CO2 goes up, and a lot of times you'll get some CO2 in the line. And it will displace some of the beer and sometimes overcarbonate the beer so that when you first pull on that tap, you may get a pretty good jolt of foam. Most people get some sort of a jolt of foam when they first pull a tap because of this, but they have very short lines, so it's not as pronounced. And when I'm pouring a beer out of my keezer here, typically what I will do is if I haven't poured from that tap all night, I will walk over, I will pour about an ounce of beer, which ends up being about 3 ounces of foam, right? 2 or 3 ounces of foam. And I'll just I'll just pour it out and then I'll pour my beer. Or sometimes I'll just won't worry about it and pour the beer and have a little extra foam in that glass. But once that beer is out of there and it's been in a line and it's been cold, then it won't affect anything after that. You'll be fine.
Yeah. Now, the one thing that you always talk about on the show that's pretty important is to make sure your lines stay clean. And then if you're good about keeping your lines clean, I don't think that'd ever be an issue as long as it's cold.
Well, and Todd also didn't disclose that you don't leave beer stagnant for long. Like, like the beer's always flowing in your lines, buddy. Like you're just a snob about it, and you don't want that kind of little first pour. But I do notice you've especially this year.
You sound like my wife.
You are very good about that because you put a little taster up there at the beginning of the night when I'm there, and you warned me. I'll go to pour one and go, I haven't poured from that yet. Use the taster. And
that's cool.
I know. Yeah, I know. Like, oh, look at him. He cares because
it's foamy and it's also a little warm, not because it's warm in the lime, but because the faucet head's warm. So you kind of get that foamy. I don't like that. So,
yeah, I don't like that. Yeah. Well, and what's funny, he's right. Well, first about a number of things. I do love Reddit. Reddit, why don't you love me? I need it back. Come on. Like, quit downvoting me every time I'm like, hey, we have a new episode. Boom, downvote hammer. But one thing that I do see a lot on Homebrew Talk, on Reddit, or even questions writing in, there is no exaggeration when I say people will add tens of feet of line to try to compensate for restriction instead of getting like an inline flow control, or maybe even the right size tubing, right? They're using like 18 feet of 1/4 inch because that's what it was working for me with my refrigerator, which not dogging on a real way. It's just funny because it's like, I can't imagine 18 feet or 15 feet even.
Well, it's funny you said 18 feet. Isn't that just about what the restriction you need, how many feet you need for standard restriction on 1/4 inch line?
Yeah.
I think it is about 18 or 20. So yeah, that would make sense. And if you've got 3/16 line and you're putting 3/16 ID standard beer line and you're putting 18 feet of hose on there, You got another problem you should fix.
Yeah, absolutely. You're right. But the go-to answer is, and on Facebook groups especially, I've been seeing lately, because I've been more active on a lot of these like kegerator owner Facebook groups and Homebrewing United Facebook groups. And a lot of the times people will be like, oh, I'm getting foam. Never fails. The first answer is always like, add more line. Not even asking, well, how much line do you have? I have 12 feet. Add a line. Are you listening? Add more line. I'm like, oh, I just use it. That's when I love recommending the inline flow control, only because it works with like minimal line and it's super easy to use. If you have I mean, it's circumstantial. I can open my kegerator and adjust it right there. Some people who have a gazillion kegs and a teaser, maybe it's not the most convenient, but there are solutions out there. And like Todd said, if you're using 1/4-inch line, maybe switch over to 3/16 so you don't have to have a bundle of line in your kegerator. And ultimately, this question was about what happens in the beer that stays in the line. Todd, you're saying
it's fine.
Yeah,
it's fine.
Ultimately, it's fine. Is there a time that you would like say, man, get it all out before you like? Is it we're talking? I mean, because it's always going to be cool. Stagnant is very relative in this.
It's really not going to be
context.
stagnant.
That's what I mean.
If anything, it's going to be the opposite of stagnant. It's actually going to have more carbonation than the rest of the beer in your keg. For the most part, because the CO2 tends to go up and accumulate in those lines. In fact, that can be a real problem for some people when they have their lines real high. They'll say, every time I pour a beer, it shoots foam out in the beginning. It's because the CO2 is coming out of solution in the line.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Okay.
And you can, if you've got clear enough line, like on my system, you can see the bubbles coming up. So I have to do the same thing, but because I have such a longer lines, I have to draw quite a bit more off the tap before it starts drafting right.
Yeah, and I'm gonna have to edit out that the stupid look I gave when Todd said it might be more carbonated, because I saw myself in the monitor. I looked stupid. I should have known. Yeah. I should have known that, and I looked really stupid.
You were thinking Todd is an idiot. I saw the look too. I saw it and I totally ignored it. But yeah, I saw the look.
I did for about half a second until I realized, oh crap! Oh no, I'm not going to edit it out. I'm not going to edit out the part with the phone muting either. That we got to get this published. And I'm lazy. But anyway, so yes, Frank, don't worry about it. And whoever put it on Reddit, if you happen to see this little snippet, guys like me on Reddit. But no, anyway, if you happen to see this on Reddit, don't worry about the beer that's left in the line. It's not going to be an issue unless you're talking about your kegerator getting warm or it staying in there a long time. But yeah, you have bigger issues than that then if you're not finishing your beer. Anyway, so Frank, thank you so much for submitting the question. Moving on to our fourth and final question of this week's show came from our buddy Stu, who used the submission form at homebrewhappyhour.com. Stu wrote, Joshua, James, and Todd, hello from Oregon. I was delighted to see that Todd enjoyed his visit here recently. It's a beautiful place to live. I have a question about my sanitizer staining my equipment. I enjoyed your interview with the BTF iodophore guy and began using the product almost immediately after listening. It is working wonderfully, but it's also staining the out of my buckets. Is this going to be a problem or affect the flavors of my batches in any way? I'm also worried it might be affecting the integrity of the equipment, if that makes sense. If this is just a cosmetic issue, then it's not a deal breaker for me. Thank you, Stu. Yeah, Todd had a great time in Oregon. That's all I really have to offer this question.
Oh, God, I love Oregon. It's so wonderful. And James loves iodophore, so I'm going to let him answer this question.
Yes, I used iodophore until Todd had been working real hard with the sand step, and we ended up using that. But that was the one thing about iodophore that I always hated is it stained all my pretty lines. It turned it maroon. And but I haven't had any issues other than appearance. It works great. It's a fantastic sanitizer. You don't have to. It's a no rinse. I can't say enough good things about iodophore other than the fact that it will stain if you have nice silicone hose and you pump a lot through it. You'll see a color change, but it's just a color change. It doesn't affect anything.
And your buckets, because I know Todd, go ahead, be Debbie Downer about the staining. You don't like the staining, I know.
It bothers me, but I use it. I mean, I've used it. I think it works great, and I'm sure the staining. I know the staining doesn't hurt anything. So yeah,
It's a visual thing. I know that because I was brewing, what was I brewing? Was it kombucha over there when I was like, oh crap, I forgot. I have a little bottle of iodophor I take everywhere with me. And I didn't bring my own iodophor, and I was about to use it, and you're like, use the sand step, don't stain my bucket. I was like, Todd, what are you talking about? It's not even your equipment. Oh, okay, I don't care what you use. That's exactly what you told me.
I like my buckets to be pretty.
You should see me. My dad and I only use iota, and we've been using that since before Jonathan was on the show. Like James said, it has been around since I think before I was alive, but it's been around forever and proven. And I mean, iodine, right? Don't they use that in hospitals every day?
They use it in hospitals before surgery, and
it stains them too.
Stains your skin and your hands, but boy, does it do a fantastic job. And it's not water sensitive either.
Correct. That's why we like it. Yes.
Yeah, you can use it in hard water, and yeah. Oh, and by the way, we are going to be getting more sand step in. I don't know if you knew that, Josh. What?
No, I didn't. Really? Awesome.
Yeah, we're working on it, and they had a very, very difficult time producing more because nobody had the jars. There was no containers to put it in because they were making so much sanitizer for COVID, even for our cleaning kits, everything. We could not buy plastic jars anymore, but they're coming back on now, and we should have it pretty soon.
Awesome. Which again, yes, let's talk about that. The acid-based sanitizers like SandStep are wonderful. And everybody has a hiccup about any given sanitizer because good sanitizers have something to notice, whether it be staining.
Yeah, they got side effects. All of them do.
Whether it be staining, whether it be foaming, or whether it be an odor, you're going to have something that you're like, and that's why 5-Star spends tens of thousands of dollars on a whole don't fear the foam campaign. And I see people, they've even gotten it down to where I'm convinced these are plants. They'll be on Reddit and showing a whole thing of foam just coming out with their beer. They're like, oh, I'm not fearing the foam. I'm like, okay, I'm not going to drink that.
I don't like the foam. It's funny. I've gotten used to the odor
of SandStep. Yeah.
With SandStep to the point where if I don't smell that, I don't feel like I'm sanitizing anymore.
That's what I was going to say. Yeah.
Exactly.
And that's what people say about the foam, and that's what my pop and I say about the staining of the iodine. We all find our camps, and we just like when Todd complains about, he's like, well, at least my equipment's not stained. I'm like, yeah, but you smell. But we have people in our Patreon group who have brought up I forget if his name's Matt, I believe, really nice guy who's done tests on it about how it doesn't to get this out there, the smell of SandStep doesn't affect anything, just like the staining of the iodophor doesn't affect anything, just like the foam doesn't. It's all perspective. And
it is.
And SandStep is my favorite acid-based one. We just iodophor, they seem to go forever. I say that. So does SandStep. Like I still have the bottle.
But all of those go a long way.
Goes a long way. I guess pick the one you like, and I would say, Stu, if the staining is bothering you, try SandStep. Switch over and just again, heads up, it has an odor to it. And the odor should.
Oh, it's a nice odor.
Nice is a marketing term.
If I didn't smell that, I would be afraid.
Well, that's what I was going to say.
Mixed solution,
right? When you start using it, you become acquainted with. I don't smell it. What's wrong with my batch? Like I like in regards to the solution that you're making for sanitizing. The smell doesn't linger forever. It does, and it certainly doesn't infect your beer. But
you know what, my brewing controller is blinking over there, which means the water's up to.
Okay, well, good. Well, if you're leaving now, that's perfect because this is the end of the show. So I
wasn't leaving. I'm ready to brew.
Oh, you're right. Oh, yeah. Oh, yay!
And it's a goal.
Oh, which as I'm wrapping up, we had so much good feedback from our Patreons about the live brew day that we have to make that more often, guys. We got to do live brew days more. I'm going to try to do a live brew day this Sunday with my dad. Like I'm going to take now that we have a nice laptop for the podcast, and I'm going to try to set up some cameras, and that'll be our test run for the mobile gear that we just got, Todd. And if we can do live brew days like quarterly, maybe, where we actually formally do, like just cameras. We don't have to do the whole invite people in and all that stuff in regards to in-person guests, but I think it would be fun for everybody, and I think it'd be fun for us. So is Todd? Look at you. I'm gab, and Todd's like, I'm gonna go over there and brew, guys.
No, I was talking about the invite.
Oh, you? Yeah, no, you'll be there. Yeah, if y'all want to come up to my pops this weekend, but live brew days, I think I would schedule my visits up there to coincide where, hey, we're going to brew on Friday. Okay, I'm going to be there on Friday, and we'll do a live brew day for members of our Patreon group. So with all that being said, my friends, that is all I have for this week. I appreciate y'all's time, especially given the craziness of the week. I'm going to be up there next week, so I will see you guys then.
Okay. See ya. Bye.
And that will do it for this episode of the Homebrew Happy Hour. If you have a question you would like us to discuss on a future episode, you can go to homebrewhappyhour.com and click on the submit a question link at the top of the page, or now you can call or text them in by using 325-305-6107. Thank you to our show sponsor, homebrewsupply.com, for supporting us and the homebrewing community. You can get 15% off homebrew kegerator kits plus ball lock kegs for only $30 when bought with the keg kit. Limited time offer available at homebrewsupply.com. On behalf of Todd Burns, James Carlson, and the Pearl Media Network, I'm Joshua Stubing. Thank you for listening.
This program is made possible by the checkbook of Mr. Todd Burns and by contributions to our newly launched Patreon by viewers like you. Visit patreon.com/homebrew happy hour and join our community. Thank you.